If you have a desire and you're willing to do something, one, prove yourself at work. Proving yourself and having credibility will allow you to ask for things, or people want to give you opportunities. Two, do your research. You don't have to figure it out all by yourself. Reach out to those people, whether that's someone who's done it before or someone who's not, or someone above you, whatever. Do some research, find out. And three, come up with an actionable plan that you can present to your bosses. Hey, here's the situation. Here's how I see it working. Do I have your blessing, or, do you see it some other way? And I think if you go about it like that and you have all your bases covered, then it's a positive thing.
Hi, and welcome to Athena Talks, where today is the most exciting day because we get to sit down with none other than Marine Corps Captain Riley Tejcek, who, Riley, I think it is safe to say that you are steadily becoming a household name.
That's the goal, maybe.
Yeah, and well-deserved, because not only have you accomplished the amazing feat of becoming a United States Marine and a company-grade officer, but you were once a former Division I softball player, turned USA bobsled Olympic hopeful, and now we can add to the list Fiancé.
Yay!
Well, congratulations to you and Danny. We'll talk about Danny in a little bit because I love your story, and I'm just really excited and happy for you. That you get to add that family piece to everything that you're accomplishing right now.
Yeah, thanks so much.
So it's always exciting to sit down with another Marine, but particularly, of course, another female Marine. And I think what is always insightful to talk about, as all service members remember, is that day that they decided, like, today is the day I'm getting up and I'm signing the line. Like, walk us through that day that you woke up and you're like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to go become a United States Marine.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's journey is so different, which is what I love about this question, is all of us who are Marines or in the military in general got there in a very unique way. For me, it was meeting a Marine recruiter in college. I was 18, which is pretty young, but not necessarily as young as some others. And when him and I first had that conversation, it stuck with me, and it almost like kept me up that night. I met him and he was talking about what it meant to lead from the front and be a Marine, let alone how much harder it was going to be to be a female Marine, because the numbers just weren't there and the standards aren't going to be decreasing anytime soon. And I remembered being 18, being on college campus, and that night just being like, I have to do it. And it just like kept me up at night. And I was like, this is something that motivates me, but it also something that scares me. And I think when those two things mesh, it's the right call. You know, it's going to be hard. You know, it's going to challenge you, but ultimately, you know that it'll allow you to get to your potential. So I remember showing up to the office in Fairfax, Virginia, because I went to school in DC, and walking in there and just being nervous around, the other Marines. And at this point, even seeing a corporal was intimidating to me, because I didn't know anything. And every single time I came in, the Marines were able to hold themselves to the highest standard professionally, personally, and with their physical appearance. And so I just knew that this is where I wanted to go. So I do remember signing all my documents, and anyone knows how long it takes to go through the medical process and all the things. So I can't tell you the exact date, but I do remember walking into there for the first time, and that impression that you see matters so much. And it's really set the tone and set me up for where I am now. And looking back on it, I know that that experience is something that happens to everybody. And it's so special to hear why people got started, or what their origin story is, and how they got to where they are now.
Yeah. Was it the OSO that was canvassing the campus?
It was.
Yeah. So That's positive reinforcement for all the OSOs out there. Like, it does work. Go to the campuses. You never know when the next Riley is going to be. Yeah. For me, it was interesting because I always wanted to serve in the military, but the messaging always was, you're a woman. Like, there's no place for you. And even though my brother was the first to go become a scout sniper, even his messaging when I was like, hey, I really want to join the military. No, certainly not the Marine Corps. And so I did what I was told, went to undergrad, was sitting in my corporate job and completely unfulfilled. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I really want to serve. Because as you know, when you have that service passion in your heart, there's nothing that's going to stop that unless you like go for it. And similar to you, just having that immediate impression of the Marine Corps, I was talking to the other services, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to call the Marine Corps. So I called the nearest OSO office. It was Captain Jamie Carson that answered, right? United States Marine Corps, Captain Carson, OSO, whatever. And I said, all right, sir, I'm thinking about joining the service. And as the good salesman that he was, he said, you know what? Call me back when you want to be a United States Marine. And he hung up the phone. That was the end of the conversation. That was it.
Wow.
So
Wow.
what does anybody do that's like type A and hyper competitive? The next day I'm in the office. I'm like, that worked. I am here. Sign me up. And of course, like, what do you have to do to prove yourself? Like, all right, can you do a PFT? All right. So did the PFT, signed that day, and I'm a believer that things in life and past happen for a reason. And I took my oath, and 3 weeks later, September 11th happened. And the typical Marine way, like, who was the first person to call me on September 11th was that OSO office saying, hey man, how are you doing? Like, are you ready? Do you know what this means? And it's like, yeah, I mean, this is all I've ever wanted to do. So yeah. So stepping foot in that office, like, certainly changes the trajectory of your life. But you mentioned, the OSO and him being a male. When was the first time you ever saw a female Marine?
It took a while.
Yeah.
I think I saw first a female enlisted, then I did an officer. And I remember obviously going to officer candidate school, and I remember the first captain. I remember her name to this day, and I remember what they looked like. I remember how they treated us. I remember everything. Obviously, the sergeant instructors have a different role, right? Your gunnery sergeants, your staff sergeants that are meant to get up in your behind, but obviously the officers as well, but how they conduct and carry themselves. And it's really ironic looking at where I am now and knowing that that could be a billet that I could be filling here in Quantico and having that experience like everyone does. So it's so awesome when they're your first interaction, but it also means that that's not the whole way it is for the Marine Corps. Because since then, I've served for a female commanding officer. 05 Lieutenant Colonel was commanding out of Mal's, which was awesome. She was great. I learned so much from her. My direct boss at that unit as well, the executive officer, now Lieutenant Colonel, overseeing the same unit, was just as great. And I learned so much from how they conducted themselves in leadership and what they did. And ever since, when you are looking for it, you'll find more. And you'll find then generals, and you'll find, admirals. They exist and they're there. They're just not very many still. But I know we're working towards that, and we're not going to drop the standard for that. And so that's what I love about it, the Marine Corps. Yes, we want women. Yes, we want men. Yes, we want people of all different backgrounds because that's what makes it so unique. But the standard is the standard. And every Marine is a rifleman. Every Marine has to, be above a certain quality. And so that's why, regardless of male, female leader, you're going to get the best. And that's what the Marine Corps has to offer. So I've enjoyed learning from both men and women, but it has been, for me, really positive to see other women be successful, because that means that I can envision myself being that successful. And there's nothing wrong with people that don't look different, that look different than you or act different than you. But when you're able to maybe relate a little bit more, you now know in your mind, hey, that's achievable, and you know what to work for. So that's been incredible for me. And I hope I can continue to be that for other people as I maintain my career in the Marine Corps and continue to move up in the ranks.
Yeah. Well, you were well on your way, but I think you had another mission in your heart, kind of changing that,
Yeah.
and really looking for a way to show both young boys and girls, like, they can do the Marine Corps if they want it.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk a little bit about this amazing, amazing piece of work that you've done. If you can dream it, be it, and talk a little bit about the impetus for it, and why you want to bring that experience of you walking in and actually getting to see female Marines for the first time down to the elementary school level, and what it's all about.
You set me up perfectly for this, so thank you for being a great host. I was having this conversation time in and time out, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize the impact it made on my brain of never seeing women or people like me being successful, so
Mm-hmm.
me not thinking that was possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty generic psychologically when you actually break it down, but once I had that realization, it was like that aha moment, that light bulb that went off in my head. And I was like, oh my goodness, if I've had that experience, how many other people are there, men and women, that also have that experience, that haven't seen a male or female like them in the military or as a professional athlete or fill in the blank of whatever that is. And so when the more time I was doing media and talks like this, great adults and above are listening, but we're missing that key moments in the child's upbringing. And I love being asked questions and people trying to dissect, how did you get to where you are? Parents asking my parents, how did you raise your daughters? And it comes down to some key moments in life. And you don't always remember, some of those shaping moments, but there are some core elements and beliefs that are being taught between the ages of 4 to 8, which is exactly who my audience is initially for the book. And when you're 1 to 3, you're mimicking behavior of people that are around you. You're starting to learn words, you're starting to talk, you're being very observant. In my opinion, once you become 4 to 8, and I'm no doctor, by the way, so I could be wrong, but once you become 4 to 8, instead of mimicking behavior, you're starting to form your own beliefs based off of now what you've seen. So now you go from like that nature nurture of like, okay, I see this, and now you get to start making actions on your own, having opinions, right? Talking back. That's where you get a little bit with the parents and stuff such as that. And I said, if I could touch the 4 to 8-year-old Riley and show her then that she could be a Marine, that she could be a successful professional athlete and do it while being feminine and entering pageants if she wants. And she doesn't have to study English and she could say y'all and still publish and write a book. I thought the impact, which was my goal,
Right.
would be drastically more because
Mm-hmm.
I could impact multiple generations.
Mm-hmm.
I could impact them as a child, which then, as they form their own thoughts and beliefs, can spread that. But it has a greater, longer impact that could be maybe that core memory or core belief that once they see it, they can recognize it. And so I decided before I'm 30, I want to write a book. That was my goal. I wrote it at 26, published it at 28, and it has been the best thing I've ever done. It's actually my most proud accomplishment to this day. Of everything that I've accomplished in the awards and accolades and everything, reading this book to children and seeing them get something out of it has been the biggest reward. It's priceless. And I've had the ability to literally read this book and have a child come up, to me during it and be like, "Wait, so you're saying I can do all things?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's no reason why you can't." And they're like, "Wait a minute. That's you on the last page. Wait, and I'm like, "Yes, and if I did it, you guys can do it too." And so it's fun. What do you want to do? Who will you become is the whole message of it. Become someone that's kind, that's loving, that's bold, that's courageous, that wants to put themselves out there. And I also think, again, things that I've noticed growing up through childhood, is there's something about art of actually opening and reading a book together that creates dialogue. And it's the art of holding something and reading it and sounding out words and seeing the story come about. And it's such childlike behavior that I love, that even I hope as adults we even have, but that creative element kind of tends to go away. So I'll just say, to answer your question, I couldn't think of a better group of individuals than roughly ages 4 to 8, because I wanted to make a core memory and belief that there was no longer going to be another Riley that is 18 that said, "Wait a minute, I could be a Marine." Like there's female Marines, right? Just to your point, I don't want that to be anyone else's story that enters the service. And if I can be a role model or example for that, awesome. And then twofold, I just want to create impact. I want people in this world to have belief in themselves, and I want them to know that they don't have to fit into a box, that they can be as creative as they want, mesh things together. When you're bold, you're courageous, and you're kind, a lot of really great things can happen for you.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that age demographic is so important. I love that you targeted it, because I know if I would have had this, if I would
Mm.
have just gotten this in elementary school when I made my first trip to the Vietnam Memorial, and that's when I knew that I wanted to serve something bigger than myself and how important this country was. Like this would have been a game changer. I would have come in probably 3 years before I did, because I would
Right.
have known. So I'm just really grateful that you put it out there. And I tested it. My son is 7, so I'm like, okay, we're gonna test this. I want to see what happens. And I just left it on the table. I didn't tell him we had to read it. I just left it on the table for where he eats breakfast, just to see. And he eats his breakfast. I'm getting ready, and he comes back and he's like, "Mom, I read the book. I read the book that you had on the table." And I said, "Well, what did you think?" He's like, "I really liked it." I'm like, "Well, what's your big takeaway?" And he's like, "I can be an NFL player." Because that's his biggest dream. Like, yeah, I mean, I thought maybe he was going to say a Marine too, just because like that's been exposed to. But that's the beauty of it. Like he's been exposed to the Marine Corps his whole entire life, and and I know you talk a lot about the power of parental example, and what that sets. And for my son, seeing me as a Marine between the ages of like 3 and 5, all he used to tell people was, women go to war for this country, because that's what mommies do, right? Because that was his example. And so he knew that, I could grow up and be a Marine. And it was funny, on the day of my change of command, he came up after, and he's processing it all. This time he's 6, and he's like, or I guess he was still 5. He's like, "Mom, so now I know that men can be Marines, but can they make it as far in the Marine Corps as women can?" And I
Wow.
said, "Of course they can." I'm like, who is like our most coveted, fearless leader that we know? And it's, oh, Colonel Matt Brown, who was my MAD commander, like the most incredible officer I've ever worked for. He's like, "Oh, that's right." So I could be like Colonel Brown. So he already knew that. But the passion in his heart is the NFL, is football, which is just crazy to me, because both me and his father were Division I soccer players. So like the fact that we this little kid has fallen in love with American football is like, we can't figure it out. But that was like, he came in and he's like, "I can do it. I know I can do it now." So it is having an impact, and I'm really proud of you for taking, because it's not easy, right, with everything else that you're balancing.
Yeah, there's so much to it. I've been told this saying and I actually love it, so I stole it. People are jealous of the outcome, but they're not jealous of the process. And and that resonated with me so much that, yeah, like I understand, like, oh, I wish I had a book. I'm like, oh, I bet you do, but like, are you jealous of 2 years of going through it and editing and not knowing and it coming on time and it not and getting multiple delays and just all these kinds of things to juggle with. But what I will tell you is that's where most people stop. And like your son or like other people, right? They'll see it, they're jealous of the end result, and then they're either told that they can't, or the road's too hard, or what some parents, and there's nothing wrong with it, but already giving them limitations. Well, you're not tall enough. Well, you're not fit enough. Well, you're not even good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not even good right now. Like, how could you, like, allow your children to figure that out
Yeah.
and continue to let them be creative and
Mhm.
open it up. And again, just real fast touching on this, I talk about my mom a lot
Mhm. Mhm.
because my mom and I did not have the best relationship when I was growing up because I collided with her. She was an alpha female and she worked full time and she wasn't able to, do recess or greet me off the school bus like with snacks or volunteer at her school field trip. And at first as a child, like that upset me because other people's moms were. But looking back on it, I was like, "Mom, you were providing. Like you were working so hard, traveling the globe. Like you were born adopted with nothing. You were dirt poor and you completely made yourself." And here I was as a kid at the time being like, "Wow, Mom, like you're not with us, you don't care about us, you're not around," to now as an adult being like, "Mom, you are the exact reason why I'm a strong woman today." And again, I know that your son is seeing that, and that is so incredible. But I know not a lot of people get that. Or even more with the book, I've been told more and more that people don't have like great parents. And what do you do? And that's sometimes the cards that certain Marines or other people are dealt with, and you can't go back and change it. but you can dictate how then they see the world going forward. So again, it starts with the kids, but I also believe those kids can share their memories and their beliefs and their core values and others, and then that can also inspire adults, and it can just be a rippling chain effect. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that with me and putting that out there, and I'm so glad he got something out of it.
Yeah. And, and I appreciate that story about your mom, right? Because we're going through the generation, like the trailblazers before us that did. They took the risk, they sacrificed, they had the career. And I deal with that all the time, both in my Marine Corps journey and my civilian journey. Moms out there that are just crushing it. And then, we call it mom guilt, having that mom guilt because they can't do those things. And I really appreciate that perspective of, yeah, maybe it is a little confusing and hard at first, but I mean, God, look at the daughter that she raised and everything you're doing in large
Yeah,
part because of it. Right?
absolutely, because of her.
Yeah.
It is because of
Aw.
her, and
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until later, but maybe that what feels like neglect or feels like, oh, you're not
Mhm.
giving me that satisfaction in the moment is nothing compared to the blessings and the lifelong lesson that's coming after.
Mhm.
And so to any moms or anyone listening to this, you're not wrong either way, but just like, don't doubt yourself that you're failing or that you're neglecting your child or you're not doing what they want in the moment, because what you're teaching them, that was a core memory for me.
Yeah.
It's something that I will resonate forever, that I'm going to take when I'm a parent, when I'm a mother, hopefully here, not
Mhm.
too long. And I will remember that forever.
Yeah. I think that's the next book, perspective, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Uh, you touched on it a little bit, right? And I call them haters out there.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, I think so many times when you operate in a high functioning, high achieving environment, you do have a cadre of people that just they want to see you fail. And you've been so remarkable at opening your life and being very vulnerable to the here. I'm going to put myself out there because this is the impact that I want to have, and this is how I can do it. But how have it can't be all positive, I would imagine. Social media is easy to find the trolls as they call them. So, I mean, how have you experienced haters, for lack of a better term? How do you deal with that? How do you just keep pushing forward, just being the radiant light that you are?
I'll share something very personal, like I always do. I'm literally going through it right now, as of 2 hours ago, and there was a complaint made, and as angry as I want to get, or as more, I get more hurt when someone makes a bad comment or, you know, makes a complaint or files, an IG complaint or something like that. It's our rights as Americans, and it's our right that we fight for the freedom of speech. So there's a part of me in perspective to take that. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go back a little bit more. When I have a negative comment, when I have negative things, or things like literally just happened a couple hours ago, it hurts tremendously bad. We're just gonna talk real. Like, there is not one person that I've met when they're like, well, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. False. I don't care who you are. No human desires or truly is numb from something being said against you or to you. It's just not possible. It's the reaction that you allow it to have after. So regardless, we are going to have the same reaction. If someone you care about or you don't even know about, it doesn't matter, say something really close and personal, it's going to bother you. It's going to hurt your feelings. I don't care what anyone says. You're going to have a reaction initially. It's then what comes after it that you're in control of. So someone says something rude and negative and hurtful, like my stomach drops, like I get angry or I get sad or I get frustrated, and then I pause and I have to either go to pray or call my people and just like have a second. Sometimes it's not that bad, but recently sometimes it is. And what I have to talk through and realize is I can't change anyone's perspective or opinions over me. And there's peace in that, because whether you like me or not, you're right. Like there's nothing more I can do. If I kept trying to prove myself to you over and over again, it doesn't matter. I'm chasing something that's unattainable, and not everyone is going to like you. And my mom told me that, once, and again, it stuck with me ever since. Not everyone has to like you, but you can demand respect out of people. But if everyone does like you, then you're standing for nothing at all. If everyone likes you, you're standing for nothing at all, which means that you're basically being a chameleon. and you're changing your perspective and how you are, because to stand for something means that you're going to upset someone or someone's not going to like it or agree with it, which is fine. So I take my moment, I call my people, and then I get to dictate how it goes from there. And I want to show people grace, kindness, and mercy because my good Savior, Jesus Christ, did that. And it is way easier said than done. And it's a constant choice I have to make every day, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second, to not be angry, to not seek revenge, to not do anything other than to get rid of it. And for me, if you comment negatively on my social media, you're blocked. Don't care. Like, I'm not going to engage. I'm not really going to respond. Like, you're just going to be blocked. If you want to go and create another fake profile or another profile and find a way to follow me, then that's going to get blocked too. Like, I never publicly respond. There has been some times where I have given a response to people. People have said something mean, and I've just come back onto it, be like, hey, brother, sister, I've noticed that you're in the military. Um, you're entitled to your own opinion and you have your own right. I would just be pretty mindful of the things that you say. Absolutely, you know what? I can take it. I have tough skin, but maybe someone that you say something else to may not. And I just want to remind you, like, we're all on the same team. And if you have a problem with someone, maybe just unfollow them. But you could absolutely wreck and ruin, someone's day or cost a life, from saying and acting in certain ways. Sometimes I get a response. Sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. But the way I look at it is it's your response. You can give an eye for an eye and fire something back and say something mean, but then you're no better or worse than they are. And when you are a leader and you put yourself out there, you are vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there, but that's also how you make impact. So if I did something and 99% of people resonate with and it could change their life and one person's going to attack me for it, those 99 people are worth it. And I would do it time and time and time and time again, even if it was only one person. And so I think the biggest thing for me is taking a pause, allowing myself to feel that initial emotion, keeping it contained within my group of people, processing it, and then discarding it. Whether or not that's from blocking, whether or not maybe that is a very calm, cool, collected response. I very rarely respond, but sometimes I do. Or continue to go about it with my day because I'm not going to let them win. Whoever them, they, the enemy, whoever it is, I truly believe that there's nothing I intentionally do to upset people. And if people don't like me for being me, well, then they're entitled to their own opinion. And actually, I respect that. So, big thing, it's not that it's not going to hurt your feelings or upset you. It's how you react to it. And you get to control that. And so now you're in control. I'm not in control of that, of what people say or how they decide to act themselves, but I'm in control of how I do. And so I'm going to hold myself to the highest standard. And it has been tested. Today it was tested, and it's your initial thought to want to like fight back and be on the same level and respond to that person because they hurt you, that you want to hurt them back. But that's not what we were created for. And anyone that's been able to do anything successful, Jesus, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, did not fight resistance with more resistance. They fought it with peace and love. And that's what I'm trying to attain. Again, easier said than done.
Yeah, it is. And it is really hard, but it's all about, and what I always tell myself is like, just staying on the high ground, and it's
Yeah.
whatever keeps you on the high ground. And you never needed those people to be successful, and you won't need them in the future to continue to be successful. And I think it's just staying true to yourself and understanding, like I always say, just tuning out the noise. There is there there is something therapeutic about getting to the point in life where you just don't care what others think, because like you're sitting on the high ground, you're doing what is right. And uh, yeah, I mean, just tuning it out. I mean, I'll never, and I think it's particularly hard when it comes from your fellow service members, right? And it's the cheap shots that are the hardest. And I got my first taste of that as a brand new second lieutenant, first deployment, where where we're in Iraq. Like, we just have super hot porta johns, like no other bathroom facilities. I remember going into the porta john for the first time, and some Marines thought they were really good cartoon artists, and they had me put like Lieutenant Spicer and all these crazy positions, which I know I'm not flexible in no way that I could get into, but like it killed me, right? Because it's like, well, wait a second, we're all Marines. Like I'm not, a pornographic cartoon. Um, but so that was my first reality of like, okay, well, you know, how do we? This is before we had social media, before people could leave comments. It was
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
and just you can either let it get you down or just realize, well, wait a second, I came here to do a job. I want to be really good at my job. And then that's what people see time and time again is the showing up, taking the high ground, the consistency. Um, and like you said, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but having that tribe on speed dial, I mean, that's what
Yeah.
gets through
Yep.
everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really sorry for
You
any of
know
it.
what? Yeah, as much as I love that you say that. I am too, but I also believe like it makes us stronger. It's life lessons,
Yeah,
and
for
it's a
sure.
way for us to show love. And thank you for giving me a platform and an example to continue to say you can try to knock me down as much as you want, and instead of me fighting back, I'm gonna love you through it. I'm gonna love you through it. And thank you for making that muscle in my body that much stronger. Because every rep and set, I'm getting better at it, and I can continue to be an example, hopefully, for others. So what people sometimes intend for evil can be turned into something good and peaceful. But again, yeah, we'll talk about it more. But have your tribe, have your people. You don't have to deal with it all by yourself.
No, not at all. But there are funny moments in this business.
Yeah.
So, like, what, 'cause people will hear about OCS, and as a reality, as a woman, and I don't know what the attrition rate was like for you, but it was 74% attrition.
Wow.
We started
Wow.
at 64, graduated at 23.
Wow.
But through that tough training pipeline, OCS and TBS, there are some funny moments. Like what are some of the funny moments that you remember that carried you through? Because it's like your tribe
Oh,
that will carry
yeah.
you through.
I love this about anyone that's been through this process. You can picture this when I'm saying this, and if not, use your best idea. There's something that was not always the best at, and I guess I'm not. The leadership trait of bearing.
Oh, me
I'm not
neither.
the best at this, and this is one where not only myself, but I think majority of my platoon absolutely lost their bearing. So we're at officer candidate school, and we were outside of the chow hall. And again, I don't know how I remember this because you're a little bit sleep deprived and just days meshed together, but we were outside and it was either, I think it was after like lunch chow. Like the lights was out, or the light was out, it was warm, it was hot, and we're standing at parade rest with our weapons, and we're just waiting, I think, for everyone to get out. But I remember I was in the front for whatever reason, and we have columns and rows of people, and so you can out of your peripheral see people, and the sergeant instructors are always close by. So all of a sudden, I noticed that the person, like either right next to me or two over, there was this like beautiful butterfly, and this beautiful butterfly was flying, 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 flying. And this butterfly, of all places, because we're standing so still, decides to land on this individual's muzzle. And again, I just briefly notice it. Not really, you're tired, you're thinking about what's happening next. And the next thing I know, I'm facing forward and I see all these sergeant instructors just swarm this candidate. And you're just like, oh, like, did they, are they going to drop out? Heat casualty? Like, what's going on, right? Because you can't full on, like, look. And then you start hearing them. They're just screaming at him, like, do you not know you can't have pets at OCS? Like, did we not tell you, like, pets at OCS? Like, are you serious? Are you serious right now, candidate? And then, like, essay on not having pets at OCS, right? And as they're screaming, the butterfly, is flying away. And I just remember at that moment, I was like, I don't know how these sergeant instructors were so creative, because never in my mind would I think of saying, a butterfly landing on
Yeah.
your muzzle is a pet at OCS, and why that is not right. But I just remember that so clearly, that then I had an essay as well as around other people for breaking bearing in that moment, but it was so worth it. Because it's so serious, you're so uptight, and then I'm like, man, you guys deserve like a comedy special for coming up with that on the fly. Like, that was majorly impressive. And then one other one, an OCS, and again, you're just doing what you're told, right? Like anyone that's been in it, you're sleep deprived and you're just going, you're going. And one sergeant instructor specifically would yell and scream and be like sound off, right? And that means, like speak louder. And so there was this individual that just was not, didn't have a loud bone in their body. And they're like, sound off, sound off. And they're like, ISAF sergeant, ISAF sergeant, ISAF, like louder and louder. And they're like, open your mouth. It's like she's, the sergeant started screaming at this individual. And the individual just was like, just jaw open, just opens their mouth on command. And I swear, they didn't catch me that time, but I lost it because you're just in a program where you're doing what someone's telling you. Like they're breaking you down. You're following instructions so much that, even just playing on words of, opening your mouth, meaning, hey, freaking scream, turn into someone just like going to the dentist and saying, it was hilarious. And again, anyone that's been in this moment like you and anyone listening, those are my two favorite stories that I can remember that have come out so far. And man, they're worth it. They always give me a good laugh.
Yeah, I think the most thoughtful experience I had at OCS was towards the end. And that's about when like the sergeant instructors start to break down a little bit, and then you realize, oh wait, they really want to see you succeed, right? And especially, right, the female sergeant instructors have watched all the women candidates, so many drop, and then you've got this small cadre, and they just want to see you make it. And we were standing in line, like for the PX run or whatever, and one of the sergeant instructors was a maintainer on helos, and she goes into the PX and she actually buys a couple of the female pilots and she brings them out, and there are a few flight contracts in our platoon. And they gave them to the pilots, and they're just like, hey, no matter what anybody tells you, like this could be you. So those little female pilots. And I just thought that was really cool. And the first time I really got to see like, they actually want to see you succeed. And it's awesome for them to see women come together and work so hard and make it to that finish line. But then of course there's the basic school, right? It's another slug, where you did exceptionally well at the basic school, right? Graduated top of your class.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always the I don't even know what you would call the day, like decision day for what MOS you're going to get. How did that go down for you? Did you want to be an 0402 Alagi, or what was that experience? And life lesson.
Yeah. There's this false sense of, this false thought that a lot of people have where you think you're deserving of something. Yeah. And you think that, well, I've done all the hard work, I've done everything right, therefore I should get this. Mm-hmm. And there are times in life where that is accurate, right? You do this, you get that. You work, you get paid, right? And there's other things where it's like, no matter how hard you work, whatever, you're not always going to get what you think that you earn or you deserve, no matter what. And I remember going through the process, and you have like 3 practice simulations based off of where you are at different parts and of the training period. And I kept getting like ground intel, and I'm like, no, like I'm not doing ground intel. I'm like, I want to do PAO, I want to do public affairs comstrat. If I can't do that, then I kind of want to do like a niche, like air defense control and stuff like that. I just want to be unique.
Right, of course.
But I really, really wanted comstrat, like really bad. And again, you break it up into thirds. I was in the top third, and I was in the top of the top third. And so I was like, okay, it's a no-brainer. Here's my list. I think I qualified for like 13. I didn't want a combat MOS, so I put like those at the very bottom. Down with comms and adjutant. I was like, no. But I remember I had 7 choices that I was like, okay, I think one of these is going to pan out for me. And you've worked so hard and you're standing around and people are starting to open up what they were given. And, some people are really excited about it and you get to hear about it. And intel was also the second big one, right? There's 4 different intels. And, you're going and it's your turn. And I opened it up and it said 0402 logistics. And I was like, you're flipping kidding me. It was my eighth choice. And I was pissed. Like, I was pissed because there are people that got the MOSs that I wanted that I outranked. I was better than, right? They were in a different tier. But when people heard there's another person that had the same name as me, first name, Riley, they were like, oh man, Riley got blah, blah. And people are coming up to me like, dude, you've earned it. Like, you've worked so hard. Um, and I was like, oh, it's the other Riley. And I remember I literally called a meeting with my captain. I went to his office and I was like, sir, like, this is bull crap. And honestly, and then I just started like tearing up. And I was like, what did I do wrong? Like, I worked 7 months. I did everything. I finished at the top of this, right? COVID's happening. So like the world's shutting down. And I'm just like what is happening? Like, this was my trajectory. I had worked so hard for it. Like, I could see the finish line. Like, I thought this was a shoe in. And essentially he had a conversation with me and he was just like, listen, we had to make trades. We had to move things around with different people. You were ranked the top in our platoon on peer reviews and peer evals. And he's like, so you need to lead a platoon and you need to be a platoon commander, which means that you need to have like a bigger MOS. You can't go for these small ones. And we preference prior enlisted over certain MOSs. And I was just pissed and I was angry. What leadership lesson and what life lesson I learned then in that place is that, to me, like, the Lord has a plan for everything. And if I didn't get that MOS, then I wouldn't have gone to San Diego and I wouldn't have been stationed in Pendleton filling a captain's billet as a second lieutenant, which is then what allowed me to then go and have the ability to compete in bobsled, which then allowed me to come to EWS, which then allowed me to deploy to Iraq, and I like fill in the blank of everything that you could possibly imagine. My life I would not be talking this day. I can guarantee you right now, if I would have gotten any other MOS, I would not be a bobsledder for Team USA. I would have not accomplished near what I had. And that means that sometimes you don't like the plan that's set in front of you, but you have to trust that there are either people, or in my opinion, the Lord, that is driving decisions based on your behalf because they know best. And that 22, 23-year-old me would have no idea where I would be sitting talking to you at 28, and thank goodness I was not given a different MOS, because I may not even be in the Marine Corps right now if that was the case. So all that to say, wrapping, like, big picture things that you can take away. One, the world does not owe you anything. So the earlier you can understand that, the better.
Really not the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Two, there is a higher power out there. And in my opinion, I think that's the Lord through my Christian faith. But there is either a higher power, people over you that are more educated, that will make decisions, and that you have to just trust in. And they do know best. And if they didn't, then you figure it out after that. And three, you have no idea for the blessings that are coming. So do what you were given and make the most out of it. So grow where you're planted. So for me, that was what I was given. I tried to fight it. I tried to change it. It wasn't going to work. So I had two options. I could either be salty and be angry about it and be a little Debbie Downer and not give the best I can, or fine, this is the cards that were dealt with me and I'm going to make the most out of it, which I did. And that's something that I want most people to hear. You're going to be put in situations no matter what job you do, that you maybe not necessarily think that you should be in. But that's the cards that you were dealt. And based off of that, you now have the ability and you're in control of how you act and what you make out of that. And that's now on you. And so for me, like I said, I was able to achieve and do all these other things because I said, well, gosh dang it, then I'm going to be the best logistics officer. I was able to prove myself, which then allowed me to have ample amount of opportunities in the Marine Corps and do things that truly haven't really been done before. So yeah, TBS was great. I'm thankful for it now. Not so much at the moment.
I think that's what everybody says, right? It's a long plug. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I will tell anyone that is listening, you're a Marine officer, and that's all that matters. At the end of the day, like, you sign up to be an officer of Marines, and to me, that is the best job. So you can give me whatever specialty. There's going to be something about every single specialty that you're not going to like. Sorry, it doesn't matter. But you're an officer of Marines, and that truly is the best job. And so I don't care what subsection comes after that. I am Captain of the United States Marine Corps, and then that is second of my MOS and my specialty.
Yeah. And good on the Marine Corps as to be expected for holding its ground, right? I mean, it's not going to budge. And it does know what it's doing and how important that is culturally and I mean, that's a lesson that everybody gets, right? I am a Marine first, and the power to that is as you go along, you realize, oh wow, by having that mentality and that mental agility and flexibility and confidence, I can go do anything, right? And whatever that initial pathway is. So, and then you never know how it's going to turn out, and certainly not at 23. Right? I mean, I started as a supply officer. Now I'm sitting here as a reserve officer and a partner in a global law firm. I wouldn't have thought that at 23. I would have thought I'm going for 4 stars. I don't even know if we can get them, but I'm going for them. Yeah, but having the competitive athlete background, I mean, it's something the Marine Corps just naturally attracts, for sure. But how would you say, like, how do you go from being a Division I softball player to like, oh wait, now I want to go really fast on a bobsled? Like, how does that transition even happen?
It starts with just wanting to compete.
Yeah.
Truly, in everything I do, I just want to compete, and I don't care what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And once sports was taken off the plate for me, I was able to compete within the Marine Corps, but doing 2 fitness tests a year and stuff, I was like, okay, I need something else. Like I need more. And I see this a lot of times in Marines or people. That's why they get involved in CrossFit or like 5Ks or whatever. It's like you're like, I just need to compete a little bit. And so for me, I was just praying and seeking further ways of competition. And I happened to met someone who was a bobsledder, and the Lord kind of planted that seed, and I was able to walk into it and see it. Now, I always wanted to go fast because I'm just an adrenaline junkie. So yes, it was softball, but I just like doing hard things. I mean, shoot, I'm a Marine, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you like getting yourself maybe in not like trouble, but like towing the line of like danger and be like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yes.
And that's really what it came down to for bobsled was just I wanted to keep competing. I wanted to do something that was hard,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to see how far, I could run with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, I think the Marine Corps is filled with athletes.
Hmm.
And is there any way that you can kind of describe or give a platform for other Marines who are like, hey, like how do I even go down this path? Like how can I even go down either a Marine Corps athlete path or whatever that may look like?
All Marines are tactical athletes. I
Right.
don't care what anyone says. All Marines are athletes. They just don't always train as such. We're
Mm-hmm.
working on that. To anyone that has a desire on their heart to continue athletics or looking to me, there may not be a way. There may, and you need to do some research. And the best place to start is there's All Marine Sports. Ask like that 23-year-old self that didn't know anything. Ask people that are above you, like voice like what you're looking to do, because some people
Right.
might know or point you in the right direction. Like I said, there's All Marine Sports. There's also other options. Like bobsled was not an all marine sport, and so all that means is if you have a desire and you're willing to do something, one, prove yourself at work. Proving yourself and having credibility will allow you to ask for things or people want to give you opportunities. Two, do your research. You don't have to figure it out all by yourself. Reach out to those people, whether that's someone who's done it before or someone who's not or someone above you, whatever. Do some research, find out. And three, come up with an actionable plan that you can present to your bosses. Hey, here's the situation. Here's how I see it working. Do I have your blessing, or do you see it some other way? And I think if you go about it like that and you have all your bases covered, then it's a positive thing. My goal is to let more Marines know of opportunities that exist for them, because there are, and also see people to exceed in those roles. There'll never be a good time. There's no Marine that's not busy. There's no Marine that like can afford to be lost in the sense of like someone's gapped out from a position, but that's not going to change. So does that mean that you can't go forward and seek an opportunity? Absolutely not. So put yourself out there, ask questions. If you're told no, then pivot, find a different solution, find a different way, but also don't just come with an ask, come with a plan. And if you come up with a plan and you're doing it for them, it makes it that much easier to say yes and to abide by. And then lastly, I will say this, I've had some of the best leadership possible. I've had people that have seen, I presented a plan that knew that, hey, we will, as a command, maybe initially we might hurt on being down a person, but we can rally because what they're going to do is far greater than anything that they would do in this moment right now. And it takes leadership to be able to say, no one wants to lose their best Marine, but sometimes your best Marine is like meant to do something bigger. And that means that then everyone else is going to have to pick up the slack, or your shop or whatever is going to slack for a bit or not be as productive because said named person is a heavy hitter and they left. But don't penalize the people that are doing so good at the top that you don't afford them the opportunities. So ask questions, do your research, come up with a plan, action it. And if it doesn't go the way you want, pivot and keep trying.
And then just make sure you come home with the gold like you did, in December, January, right?
In January, yes.
January. So if you're going to do it, come home with the gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that your first gold?
That was my first gold in an international competition, which to this day still puts like the biggest smile on my face, not because of actually winning it, because of everything that it took to get to that point.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that I can look back on and be like, because of you, like this was possible. To stand and hear my anthem played in front of everyone was so surreal, and it was bigger than me, and it was a lifetime goal that I had achieved, that I was the best at something.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot to get there, and I'm so thankful that I get to share that with my friends and my family and everyone that's poured into me along the way.
Yeah, and which is just incredible, and super excited to see, watch you reach for the Olympic podium coming up. But you're also doing amazing Marine things too, and that can't be understated. And you took the time and you deployed to Iraq. So how was your first deployment?
Amazing, if I could put it into one word. That does not mean that times weren't hard. That doesn't mean that I wasn't challenged. That doesn't mean that there's days when I was like, can I please go home? Like, how many more days do I have? But it was an incredible experience. Anyone who joins the military, in my opinion, isn't joining to be a practice player. Everyone wants to be a game time player, but it comes at a price, right? We are war fighters. That does not mean that we want war. That doesn't mean that we want to only be training for something and never in the fight or in a situation that's real. So for me, that was the first time that I was able to work with 26 other nations in the middle of Baghdad and really feel real life scenarios play out. My decisions actually had real life implications. And that to me was everything that I had trained for, and an experience that I don't think we could sustain, which is why we rotate people out working 7 days a week at that rate with high stress, but one that I would gladly go back and do again, because I know that that kind of service truly is what I signed up for. And it made me feel like I had finally achieved what I was looking for in the military, and gave me kind of that a little bit of a purpose of like, hey, everything I worked for actually paid off. Like, these paying attention to details in this training applied in X scenario. And that just gives you that kind of satisfaction that it's like, it was all worth it. Everything I did, the decisions I made led me to this moment. So I was able to be successful when it was time to execute.
Yeah. So, and I feel the biggest leadership journeys happen on deployments, right? Like, that's where you're in the high stress environment. You have human factors surrounded around you by all ranks, all people, all dynamics.
Yeah.
Do you have any good examples of just how your leadership journey evolved on the deployment and how you grew as a leader, if at all?
I learned that on a deployment, which is, whatever, I'll share it. It's not about rank. It's about capability. And your rank does not associate how capable you are of getting a job or certain things done. That when it comes to real life, death situations, or situations that make significant impact on people, it's based off of your capability and what you have to offer. Now, we will always respect the rank as a military, and that will never, ever change. But just because you're a certain rank doesn't mean you are more or less capable. And there are Marines that I met that were junior Marines or junior service members of all nations, 26 and to be particular. And I learned so much from some of those junior Marines that stepped up and did things that it had nothing to do based off of their rank, that I respected tenfold. There's also times where I see that when you're heavy on officers and high level hitters, that they're also not immune to making mistakes and having personal factors like affect them. And it's okay in the sense to have some realism with that. Just because you're a general and you go on deployment doesn't mean you don't miss your family. Doesn't mean you don't have that human element. And being able to see that as a leader is not showing weakness. or by any means, but it's showing your ability that you are a human, you are a person, and you have a capability no matter what you are, and you can endorse people in that. The If you're actually in combat, which we were not, but if you were, the bullet does not care what rank you are at all. It doesn't. It's just going at you. And so again, it's not always rank based. You respect the rank, but when life and death situations come on, it's about your capability, and that's what I care the most about. And that made me come back from deployment wanting to be that much better and that much more equipped for if something came. Do I have the capability to act, and do I have the proper resources that I can draw on? Because I may only be a captain, but I may have to make a big time colonel decision, and I need to be able to live by that. And am I ready, and am I prepared?
Mm-hmm. Well, given that you have the operational experience now, which I always feel is like rocket fuel, because that's what we all sign up for. Where do you want to take your Marine Corps journey now? Where are you headed? What are you looking at?
So my next assignment I leave for next month. I'm going to be going to Western Recruiting Region, which I'm really excited about, down at the depot in San Diego. And my goal is to do nothing more than define the nation's best and meet those people that don't know the Marines are an option for them, or let people know that already meet that standard of like, hey, this is a place for you. The Marine's the best, and so I need the best. And I am willing and determined to find the best, to make sure that we continuously are the best fighting force functioning on all cylinders. The military looks different. The world looks different. It's constantly evolving. And we will always need Marines in the front, leading the way. And so the job has gotten harder, I think, since 9/11, and as more time has gone by, of a sense of wanting to come in and serve. But I take it personally to really not only share my story, but share the story of other Marines that I've met, to make sure that we are getting the best and that we can continue to be a service that our country is the most proud of.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you say Marines are better than Royal Marines?
Depends if Danny's listening to this, which I know he is. Um, so my fiance is a Royal Marine, obviously, and he's incredible.
Yeah.
He is so sharp and squared away, and I have yet to meet someone. Obviously, I'm biased, but I'm speaking truthfully. I have yet to meet someone that I've been so impressed with. The Royal Marines in general are incredible. They are incredible men that not only are physically just absolute specimens, but mentally and emotionally and like doctrinally sound. Like they know everything and they have a response for everything, and they're fearless, but they're fierce, but they're kind and compassionate, but they're willing to do absolutely anything. And I have been blown away the more and more that I have been surrounded by him and some of his peers, that I truly think that the Marines, the United States Marines, need to do more with the Royal Marines, because we have a lot to learn from them. And I have yet to meet one, or have heard anyone that has met one, that has not just absolutely blown them away, that is top tier. And it's an honor to have learned and to like serve alongside them. And I'm gonna have to say, if I have to be completely honest, based off of the number of Marines that I've met, U.S. Marines versus Royal Marines, I will say the Royal Marines have us beat right now, but maybe not. Maybe not forever.
Yeah, I mean, they're just incredible, and I've gotten to serve alongside them on a few deployments. And what always stuck out to me about Royal Marines is, like, while they are lethal and they're phenomenal at what they do, they don't take themselves too seriously, and they
No,
are just so good at keeping laughter or banter, as they would say, of everything that they do. And
yeah,
I feel sometimes as Marines we take ourselves a little too seriously, a little too well tight.
100%. Yeah,
We could learn that. So
yeah.
is Danny coming stateside, or
Yes,
yeah,
yes. So Danny just is finished out his career over there. He's on terminal leave
it's
right now,
awesome.
and so
Yeah.
he's going to be moved to the United States, and we're going to start a family and everything here. He served multiple deployments, multiple years in the military honorably. So he is going to see a whole different side being here full time, but I'm really excited. And I will be going back and forth to England quite a lot to see him and his family and stuff like that. But it's a blessing that he's coming over here. And I also think that every U.S. Marine that he comes in contact with is going to be better just for meeting him. So I can't wait to see the ripple effect as that as well.
Well, I'm just so happy for him that you get to bring him to someplace like sunny San Diego, which
I
he
know.
will appreciate, and
Yeah.
not to our other duty assignments, but I think that's going to be a little easier to take than some of the other options that we're
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a final question about the deployment, right? Because you were sitting there and you're like training for a U.S. bobsled event, and eating is so hard. So just out of curiosity, right? Like I know you got the training routine down. Marines are always going to have gyms and equipment. Like how on earth did you maintain your nutrition on a deployment? And then like any tips for people that like I travel all the time, like how do you do it?
So there's going to be times in your deployment where you just don't have a say. And that's whether you have MREs or stuff like this. Like it is what it is. But we are, at least where I was deployed at, have been there long enough to where we have, a full chow hall where you have different options. You have to have so much discipline at that time, and you know what's good and when you know what's bad, and the bad stuff will be right in front of your face and look really good, especially after long days. It comes down to discipline. It's about making the little decisions, right? And so from a nutrition standpoint, you're always going to have those cheeseburgers and fries and stuff that is right there just waiting for you. The problem is you're gonna have to tell yourself no. And they have dessert at every meal, including lunch. Well, not breakfast, but I guess lunch and dinner. Like you don't need dessert every meal. Like, come on. And so on deployment, you can really actually get really fit and lean and mean and great because you don't have those other distractions. Like you gym, you work, and you go to sleep. Like that's it. Or you can make bad decisions and stay up all night playing video games and eating the crap food, which makes your body not feel good, which makes you not want to work out, which makes you even more tired during the day. And then it's a cycle and it goes downhill. So I see people go both ways. And I think it comes down to like anything in life, like making the little decision, and no one is going to hold you accountable other than you. It's right in front of you. Choose right or left. And there's not really an in between. And so for me, there are days when I was like, you know what, like I am going to have a dessert, and today, like they serve this once a month, like I'm going to have this. But it's that discipline to say, I'm not going to make the decision every day. And I know it's best for me. And I'm going to hold myself to that.
Stay away from the care packages.
Those are so dangerous because people like just love you and want to bring you so much nice things. And you're like, oh, so share your care packages, because if not, you're going to have all of it. Yeah.
Well, just as we wrap up here, what would you go back and tell third grade Riley? What advice would you give her?
There is a lot that I would want to tell third grade Riley, but envisioning it in my book, young Riley was in there. What I would tell her, and that I would tell anybody, is that as you grow up and you learn about other people and other cultures and what other people do, there's going to be a million things out there for you. And the world truly is your oyster, and you can accomplish and do anything. However, there are certain desires and skills and gifts that were granted to you that are for you and you only. And it's up to you to find out what those gifts are, what makes your heart tick, what gives you goosebumps when you talk about, or what's something that just brings you joy. And that doesn't have to be the same for your friends or the people around you in your community or neighborhood or your parents. But once you find that, wholeheartedly pursue that, because that is your calling. And it may be scary to step into. You may be the first. Maybe you're one of many. Maybe your family doesn't approve of it and your friends, but you know this is what's right for you. You have to step into that, and you will be doing society a favor when you do so. The world is waiting for you. You have this desire for a reason. Now it's your time to go out and pursue it with everything that you have.
Oh, you're just so awesome. I'm just so proud of you and everything that you're doing. Like just seeing what the next generation of our officer corps looks like is just super exciting. If there's any advice that I could look back and give to Captain Spicer, and you touched on it a little bit, which made me really happy to hear, is the greatest thing the Marine Corps will ever give you is your tribe for life. And the greatest things that'll ever come into into your corner. And as you're going through your highly ambitious company grade years, which they are and they should be, and you're going after every goal. And I know you've talked about it before, is making a goal to find more white space. I would say, making that goal to find more, like having that tribe space and spending that time with the people that are to your left and right that are going to carry you through like the ups and downs. I just watched my best friend retire from the Marine Corps. And I swear it was just yesterday we were like running around Iraq doing crazy things. And it just goes in an instant. But all, you have so many highs to be proud of. And then those lows, and the lows blows by people that can't stand on the mountaintop alongside you are going to come. It's going to be, that tribe. So keeping them close. But I just really appreciate your time. I'm so excited to see what's coming ahead. Both, you got to keep us posted with Danny. I mean, that's the greatest news
I
ahead.
will.
And good luck
Yeah.
training for the bobsled and getting down to recruiting duty. If there's anything me or my network can do for you, just let me know. So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
thank you, Riley. I appreciate it.